My beloved child, be still and listen to me now. Stop scrolling, quiet your fears, and lift your eyes. This moment did not arrive by accident. I ordered your steps to it because your soul is tired of storms that seem to have no shoreline, and your faith has been wrestling with shadows that will not speak their names. You have carried burdens without applause, endured whispers without proof, and you have wondered if I saw, if I cared, if I would act. I am here and I am speaking. Hear me. You are my chosen one, set in the midst of a community that was stirred against you by a voice that did not come from me. For a season you stood surrounded by noise, but the noise was never power. It was only panic pretending to be strength. Now witness what I have done. The same crowd that rallied to a ringleader has turned its back on the one who orchestrated a campaign to stain your name. Their circle has broken, their strategy has collapsed, and even their courage has left them. The mouths that once swelled with accusation will not move without counsel, and the hands that once pointed will hang at their sides. While they sit in forced silence, you will sit at a table I have prepared, and your cup will overflow before their eyes. They will see your peace, your contentment, your quiet abundance. Theirs will run dry, and they will not be able to protest. You will not need to defend yourself. Truth and law will do the lifting while you remain anchored in me. Before we go further, welcome you to this channel where my word meets your weary road. If this finds you and bears witness, share it with the one who needs courage tonight. Write 777 in the comments as your amen to what I am releasing. And subscribe so you do not miss the next word I send to strengthen you. Now be attentive, because what follows is my verdict, and it is for you. My beloved child, hear me as I uncover what has been hidden in the shadows. You have wondered how those who rose against you with such boldness could now fall into silence so sudden, and I will show you the truth. The one who stood at the center, the ringleader who tried to summon a crowd against you, built their movement on nothing but lies. They sought to turn a gathering of voices into a storm of accusation, hoping the sound of many would drown out the truth of one. They whispered in meetings, they plotted in secret groups, they thought that if they stitched enough slander together, they could cloak their agenda in the illusion of righteousness. But child, I saw every word before it left their lips, and I kept record of every plan before they thought it safe to share. What they meant to use as weapons against you have become the very fingerprints that betray them. They believed strength was found in numbers, that by multiplying voices they could manufacture power. Yet, watch how quickly the crowd scatters when confronted with the weight of law. The community they rallied looked at the cost of carrying lies, and one by one, they decided it was not worth it. The same hands that once joined together to strike at you have loosened their grip and slipped away. The applause they gave the ringleader has ceased, not because their hearts have turned to truth, but because fear of consequence has silenced their tongues. They see now that every message, every meeting, every plotted step has become evidence written in ink that cannot be erased. Their own movements have drafted the indictment against themselves. I tell you, this was never about a misunderstanding dressed as concern. This was not spiritual discernment twisted into worry, nor prayer requests that simply went astray. No, this was documented defamation, the kind that courts acknowledge, the kind that cannot be excused as harmless chatter. What was framed as care was in fact conspiracy. What was wrapped in religious language was nothing but gossip hardened into accusation. They thought their disguises would hold, but the covering has been stripped away. Now what remains is the raw truth of their intent, exposed not by your hand, but by their own. Do you see, my child, how they have written their own downfall? Every group chat they hosted, every conversation where they dared to speak your name with malice, every strategy meeting that cast you as their target, all of it was noted. They thought themselves clever, organizing in shadows. But I turned their shadows into light. They dug a pit for you, but the dirt they moved is the very soil collapsing over their plans. They built a structure of accusation, brick by brick, yet every stone is marked with their fingerprints. What they raised against you now stands as the monument of their guilt. They expected triumph. In their arrogance, they believed this campaign would weaken you, that your spirit would bend beneath the weight of false testimony. They imagined the crowd would believe them, that character would be assassinated with ease, and that reputation would crumble with a whisper. But I remind you, no whisper escapes my ear, and no accusation holds power against the truth I have sealed over your life. Their plans have fallen flat. Their efforts have yielded nothing, and the disappointment of their failure weighs heavily on them. It is important for you to know this. You were never in competition. They thought they were measuring themselves against you, but in truth, they were wrestling with shadows of their own making. They crafted an image of who they believed you were, a distorted reflection built from envy, fear, and misunderstanding. They competed against a phantom, not against your reality. And because of that, they could never win. You cannot defeat what is true by fighting against what is imagined. Their battle was never with you. It was with their own projections. Take comfort, beloved, for you did not have to lift a hand in this war. While they busied themselves with schemes, you remained steady in who I created you to be. Your authenticity was your shield, your silence your weapon, and your refusal to descend into their chaos was the very light that revealed their obsession. While they exhausted themselves in fury, you stood anchored in peace. And now, as their plans unravel, your calm presence is the greatest testimony of all. Consider how swiftly the tables have turned. The one who believed they held influence now sits alone, stripped of the crowd's backing. The voices that once echoed their lies have grown quiet. The allies they once leaned on have stepped away, whispering among themselves that it is too dangerous, too costly, too risky to continue. They are left abandoned, forced to face the reality that the power they claimed was nothing but borrowed voices, and borrowed voices always fade. I want you to hear this clearly. I am your defender. I am the one who takes the evidence they created and turns it into a mirror of justice. You do not have to justify yourself before those who accused you. The truth is its own witness, and every word spoken against you has been weighed and found wanting. The battle they declared was never yours to fight. It has always been mine. And now, let me tell you what comes of this. Their disappointment will deepen, for they will realize that their grand design has produced only shame. Their schemes are unraveling in plain sight, their credibility disintegrating before the same community they tried to impress. They sought victory through your destruction, but I have written victory through your vindication. They sought to lower your name into the dust, but I have lifted it higher than before. They thought they could make you a cautionary tale. Instead, they themselves have become the warning to others of what happens when malice rises against my chosen. As you walk forward, do so with humility. You need not gloat over their collapse, for it is enough to know that I have spoken on your behalf. Their silence is not empty. It is a verdict, a proclamation that truth cannot be drowned by lies. Their withdrawal is not coincidence. It is proof that when light shines, darkness flees. Every step they took against you has been redirected to highlight your endurance, your dignity, and the unshakable foundation I placed beneath your feet. Do not fear the remnants of their bitterness. Some will continue to nurse resentment, replaying events in their minds, convincing themselves they were wronged by justice. Leave them to me. For every tear you shed, I have stored. For every insult endured, I have recorded. The debt has been transferred to their own hands, and the repayment has already begun. Your part is only to remain faithful, to continue walking in the path I set before you, knowing that nothing formed against you shall prosper. So, take this to heart. You were not called to fight shadows, and you were never meant to live in reaction to their accusations. You were called to stand, to shine, to remain true to the essence I placed within you. While they stumbled over their own lies, you walked steadily in truth. And now, the contrast is undeniable. They built a case, but the case has fallen apart. They gathered a crowd, but the crowd has dispersed. They raised their voices, but their voices have been silenced. You, my child, remain. Remember this always. You are not defined by the words of those who speak against you, but by the word I have spoken over you. Their accusations were temporary noise, but my declaration over your life is eternal. What they meant for evil has become the evidence of your strength and the evidence of their downfall. Stand firm, for I have already gone before you, and I will continue to turn every attempt to break you into the very testimony that proves you are mine. Beloved, you are not to fear the crowd, nor the ringleader, nor the silence that now surrounds them. Their silence is your vindication. Their failure is your rising, and your only task is to walk forward, knowing that I, the Lord your God, have spoken. My child, listen closely, for I am taking you deeper into the roots of what is unfolded. What you see now did not arise from thin air. At the very center of this storm was a relationship that soured, a connection that was broken, and instead of allowing that fracture to be healed with humility, it was weaponized. The bitterness of one heart became the rallying cry for an entire community. And what could have ended as a private wound was turned into a public campaign of destruction. This was not simply disagreement, not merely the ending of fellowship. It was a deliberate choice to take personal offense and expand it into collective war. They drew others into their discontent, weaving a narrative of grievance until many believed their cause was noble, when in truth it was nothing but revenge disguised as righteousness. Understand this, beloved. In the past, they may have succeeded with such schemes. Perhaps before, they used the weight of communal pressure or the fear of legal entanglements to break others. There are those who bowed to their intimidation, who lost reputations and livelihoods because the mob seemed stronger than truth. But not this time, not with you. For I have placed my hand upon your name, and I have drawn a boundary that cannot be crossed. Their methods that once triumphed have failed against the hedge I built around you. Their tactics have not only faltered, they have exposed them for who they are. Where once the crowd might have been deceived, this time the deception unraveled quickly, and what was hidden in shadows has now been brought into the full light of day, the light shines, and nothing escapes it. The smear they attempted against you has reached into areas they thought were untouchable, but I have placed a barrier before them. This time, the law itself has become the instrument of truth. There is a legal wall standing between their lies and your life. The defamation they spread is not considered petty gossip. It is recognized as actionable harm. Judges, officers, and those entrusted with earthly justice have received the evidence, and they are treating it with the gravity it deserves. I allowed the very systems they tried to manipulate to turn against them. For the law that they thought they could bend has become the mirror that reflects their guilt. What was once their weapon has now been reclaimed as your shield. Hear me clearly. When they moved from whispering about your character to targeting your work, when they reached beyond your personal reputation and set their sights on your livelihood, they crossed into a territory they could not return from. What could have been dismissed as conflict of opinion was transformed into criminality. For they touched what sustains you, what feeds your household, what anchors your place in the world. They thought they were gossiping, but they were building a conspiracy. They believed they were stirring concern, but they were committing crimes. Every attempt to harm your professional standing became another entry in the record against them. I have arranged it so that every connection they poisoned has become testimony. Every partnership they interfered with has become evidence. Every client they tried to lure away has become a witness in your favor. Those who once thought they were tearing you down are now standing as pillars in the case that vindicates you. Their own hands have turned against them. They plotted to strip you of authority, but I have made their plotting the very foundation of their undoing. Why did they do this? Because the light in you unsettled them. Your authority was not man-made, nor did it need applause to sustain it. The quiet power you carried, the natural abundance that rested on you, provoked their envy. What they saw in you reminded them of what they lacked within themselves. And instead of learning, instead of humbling themselves, they sought to destroy what they could not imitate. Your peace was offensive to them. Your prosperity without striving was unbearable to their restless ambition. So they waged war, not against what you had done, but against who you are. Their hostility was not born of justice, it was born of jealousy. Yet see how swiftly I have turned the wheel. They sat in their pride, certain of their victory, confident that their numbers and their noise would bring you low. But the wheel of fortune spun, and what they thought was their elevation became their downfall. In a moment, they shifted from boldness to silence, from the strength of allies to the loneliness of legal summons. The community that once stood with them dissolved like mist under the sun, and now they face alone the very consequences they hoped to heap upon you. The transformation has been sudden and undeniable. Do not miss the speed with which I move when the appointed time has come. Justice does not always creep. Sometimes it descends like lightning. One day their words seemed strong. Their campaign seemed unshakable. But the next, they were struck silent, stripped of support, confronted with documents they cannot ignore. When I decree justice, it is not bound to human timetables. It can break forth swiftly, and when it does, no hand can hold it back. The case against them is moving with a force and pace they never imagined, touching every participant, shaking every connection, unraveling every lie. And know this, the consequences are not hidden. This is not a private chastisement behind closed doors. What they meant to keep in darkness is now being displayed under the brightest lights. The court is not their friend, it is their exposure. Every rumor they circulated is being recast as evidence. Every whisper has been turned into a statement. Every lie they clung to risks becoming perjury if repeated under oath. The very shadows where they found their courage have become the stage where their shame is revealed. They can no longer hide behind the safety of numbers, nor cloak themselves in the illusion of communal strength. Each one now stands as an individual before justice, and each one must bear the weight of what they chose to say and do. Think about this, my child. When they moved together, they felt invincible, as if no single voice could matter against the roar of many. They believed that your presence, alone and unguarded, was too small to withstand their tide. But the law does not measure mobs. It measures men and women one by one. The crowd that gave them confidence has dissolved, and terror has replaced their bravado. What seemed unshakable has crumbled in the space of a breath. This is the turning of the wheel, the swift hand of justice that exposes every false alliance and every shallow foundation. Their anger remains, but their power is gone. And though they may rage, though they may persist in bitterness, they have no voice left that can harm you. They are learning that persistence in evil is not perseverance but destruction. Their refusal to stop has not strengthened their cause. It has multiplied their mistakes. Each attempt to break you has only tightened the snare around their own feet. Each time they rose against you, they left behind more evidence, more witnesses, more proof of their intent. They cannot help themselves, and in that stubbornness, they are digging their own graves. I want you to see this with clarity because it will steady your heart. You are not under their power. You never were. They mistook your silence for weakness, your patience for vulnerability, but I have shown that your restraint was your strength. While they scrambled to prove a case, you stood in the truth. While they built noise, you carried stillness. While they chased the approval of many, you rested in my approval alone. This contrast is undeniable, and it is the reason why they fall while you stand. So hold your peace and let this unfold. What began as the bitterness of one has become the collapse of many. What was intended as your ruin has become your vindication. The law has spoken in harmony with heaven, and the record cannot be erased. Their lies have been dragged into light, and your truth has been preserved. You are not to fear the days ahead, for the same speed with which their downfall came is the speed with which your elevation shall come. Their silence will grow heavier, and your name will rise higher. And all who watch will know, I am the one who defends, I am the one who protects, I am the one who redeems my chosen. My child, let me open your eyes wider to the schemes of those who rose against you, for what was done in pretense and shadow has now been dragged into the light. You must understand the obsession that drove them, for their hunger was not for truth, but for image. They lived for appearance, building their identities on how others perceived them. Every public gesture was rehearsed, every social display was calculated, every interaction was performed as if on the stage. They believed that if they could control the eyes of the crowd, they could control reality itself. Their very sense of self was bound to reputation. So when reputation began to crumble, their identity began to collapse with it. They were not anchored in who they truly were, but in who they could convince others to believe them to be. That is why their fall is so devastating. For when the mask shatters, there is nothing underneath. but emptiness. This obsession with appearances led them to pervert even the sacred. Spaces that should have been holy became corrupted by their schemes. Prayer circles were twisted into planning rooms for attack. Gatherings meant to lift up my name were hijacked to tear yours down. The words of faith they spoke were not prayers, but strategies cloaked in false concern. They called it intercession, but it was slander disguised as piety. They called it discernment, but it was malice masquerading as holiness. The very places designed for worship were desecrated into war rooms. And now they are reaping the consequences of profaning what was holy. Their own community, once entranced by their influence, has turned and told them to be silent. The mouths that once echoed their lies are now commanding them to hush. For one who has lived by controlling voices, the command to stop speaking is unbearable. Their familiar power has evaporated, and the shock of rejection pierces them more deeply than they admit. As their influence wanes, watch how they scramble to rewrite the story. They put on the cloak of victimhood, attempting to paint themselves as the persecuted rather than the persecutors. They weep false tears, hoping to persuade others that justice has been too harsh. But the evidence is undeniable, and their pretense cannot cover the truth. Every attempt to whitewash their deeds only exposes them further. Every cry of innocence highlights their guilt. They try to rehabilitate their image, but their efforts collapse beneath the weight of documented proof. They are actors who have been caught out of character, and no performance can conceal the reality any longer. You must see the deeper layer of this, beloved. Every accusation they cast at you was nothing more than a confession of their own sins. This is the law of projection at work. The mirror of the soul they could not escape. When they claimed you lacked integrity, it was their own dishonesty speaking. When they accused you of betrayal, it was their own treachery revealed. When they said you had no spiritual depth, it was their own emptiness crying out. They took the shadows of their hearts and projected them onto you, hoping to divert attention from themselves. But in the end, all they accomplished was to confess publicly what they carried privately. Their campaign against you became the loud declaration of their own failures. This unveiling has revealed their true character, and it is not what they wanted the world to see. The community now sees them for what they are: opportunists with fragile egos, narcissists hungry for supply, manipulators driven by ego rather than truth. Their collapse is not merely social, it is psychological. They are experiencing what I call the breaking of the false self. The admiration that once fueled them has turned to disgust. The attention they craved has become condemnation. The control they wielded has slipped from their grasp. This is narcissistic collapse, the inevitable downfall of one who feeds on illusion when truth finally breaks through. And the fallout spreads quickly. Those who once aligned with them now scatter to protect themselves. The inner circle that knew the most has fled first, cutting ties before the judgment sweeps them in. The second ring of conspirators has begun to vanish as well, quietly stepping back to save face. Even the bystanders on the periphery are distancing themselves, refusing to be associated with the scandal. It is like watching a crumbling house, each wall collapsing against the other. Everyone is running from the ruins, leaving the ringleader in isolation. The same voices that once cheered are now silent. The same hands that once clapped are now pushing away. Yet even as the collapse intensifies, there are those who still attempt to draw you back into their web. A two-faced figure, perhaps within your very family, is trying to return as if in peace. They seek reconciliation, But their motive is not restoration. It is entrapment. Their kindness is calculated. Their gestures rehearsed. They seek to maneuver you into a position, emotionally, financially, or legally, that makes you vulnerable to their next strike. Their plan requires you to play a part, but you did not follow the script. You did not react as they hoped. Your refusal to be baited has shattered their strategy. The snare they set remains empty because you refused to walk the path they laid. Their motive, at its core, is greed. Strip away the religious language, the moral posturing, the cries of concern, and what remains is the raw hunger for gain. They wanted what you had, whether it was money, inheritance, position, or influence. But to seize it, they needed to first discredit you. They could not appear as thieves, so they aimed to make you appear unworthy, broken, or unstable. Only then could they swoop in and claim what they desired while wearing the mask of saviors. It was never about truth. It was always about possession. And because their plan has failed, their greed stands naked, visible to all. But watch now, for their borrowed power is being stripped away. They thought their connections to leaders, ministers, even law enforcement would shield them. They leaned on borrowed influence, parading alliances as if they were untouchable. But those connections are severing ties, unwilling to be dragged into scandal. The ministers are clarifying that they were deceived. The community leaders are admitting they were manipulated. The officials are distancing themselves with speed. The borrowed aura of authority is gone, and all that remains is the emptiness of their own actions. They are being left exposed, not by your words, but by the words of those who once stood with them. And now, the very story has shifted. Once, whispers circled about you. Once, the community gathered to discuss your supposed failures. But the conversation has turned. No longer are you the subject of their gossip. Now the ringleader themselves is under scrutiny. The question on every tongue is no longer, "What about you?" but, "What about them?" The weight of attention has reversed, and the spotlight shines where it was always meant to shine, on the one who orchestrated the campaign of destruction. The mouths that spread slander now speak of their scandal. The ears that once entertained lies now hear truth. And the shame they wished upon you has landed squarely upon their own shoulders. Beloved, see how I have worked. Their obsession with image has led to their humiliation. Their misuse of the sacred has led to their judgment. Their projection of guilt has led to their exposure. Their false self has collapsed beneath the weight of truth. Their family schemes have failed because you refused to bow. Their greed has been revealed. Their borrowed influence has dissolved. Their narrative has shifted, and now they are the subject of shame. This is the justice of heaven made manifest in the earth. Do not let your heart be troubled by the noise of their remaining attempts. Their efforts are like smoke blown by the wind, visible for a moment, then gone. Their silence speaks louder than their words. Their collapse testifies louder than any accusation. And their downfall is proof to all who watch that I defend those who are mine. So walk in peace. Do not fear the remnants of their anger. Do not be drawn into their pleas for sympathy or their traps disguised as kindness. Stand in the truth I have given you, for truth has proven itself more powerful than lies. Know that I am the one who exposes, who defends, who redeems, and who vindicates. What they built to bury you has become the foundation for your rise. What they meant for harm has become the platform for your elevation. And every eye that once doubted now sees that you are chosen, and that I, the Lord your God, have spoken on your behalf. My child, now let me show you what comes next. For I have not only silenced the voices that rose against you, I have unearthed the evidence that convicts them. What they thought was hidden is now revealed. They believed their secrets buried, their trails erased, their tracks covered. But I have pulled them all into the open. Every search they made, every message they thought deleted, every recording they thought private, every document they thought hidden, every financial transaction they assumed safe, all of it has surfaced. Nothing escapes my sight. The digital world does not forget, and the unseen recorders of heaven do not miss. They plotted as if invisible, but the invisible has betrayed them. Their words echo in files they thought destroyed. Their schemes are preserved in trails they cannot deny, and their own devices have testified against them. This is why their image collapses. For years they painted themselves as martyrs, holy ones misunderstood, noble souls persecuted for their faith. They wore the mask of piety, the robe of righteousness, the crown of sacrifice. Yet beneath the costume lay greed, envy, and malice. And now the mask has shattered, revealing the face behind it. The community sees it, families feel it, friends know it. Their narrative of victimhood has dissolved, for the evidence reveals them not as saints, but as manipulators. The ones who claim to suffer for righteousness are exposed as those who profaned righteousness for gain. The ones who claim to protect others are shown as those who preyed on others. Their halo is gone, and in its place stands hunger for power, craving for wealth, thirst for influence. The fallout is immense. Discord sweeps through their households. Family bonds strain and break under the weight of revelation. Brothers turn against brothers, sisters against sisters, friends against friends, for no one wants to be tied to such scandal. Their allies argue, their circle fractures, their unity disintegrates. What they once called a fellowship is now a battlefield. The one who built themselves upon the admiration of many now finds that admiration curdled into suspicion. The more they try to defend themselves, the more the evidence multiplies. The more they protest their innocence, the louder the silence of proof speaks. They cannot maintain their false image, for I myself have struck it down. And here lies a bitter irony, child. As their world collapses, as the net of consequence tightens around them, some among them will reach out to you. Legal letters may arrive, appeals for assistance may be made. The very ones who sought to strip you of credibility may seek your help to restore theirs. The same hands that tried to push you down may now stretch upward, pleading for your mercy. They will look to you because you are standing when they are falling, because your stability is undeniable when theirs is crumbling. They once called you disconnected, lost, even godless. Now they see that you are the one connected to the true source, the one who radiates grace when they are drowning in shame. But hear me well. Mercy is not obligation. Forgiveness is not demanded. Your boundaries are sacred, for I sanctified them. You decide who enters your space, who has access to your table, who is allowed into the life I have preserved for you. Do not think that to forgive means to return to what was. Forgiveness releases your heart, but reconciliation requires their repentance, and repentance is not theirs to pretend, but to live. You are not required to heal those who wounded you. You are not bound to rescue those who conspired against you. You are free to choose, free to draw lines, free to say no. Your posture is not one of bitterness, but of strength. You are calm, steady, anchored in me. You stand not in arrogance, but in dignity, knowing that it was I who upheld you when others plotted your fall. You will not be swayed by guilt, for I have removed the false weight from your shoulders. You will not be manipulated by tears, for I have given you discernment. When they come asking for mercy, you may choose the path of compassion or the path of distance. Both are holy, if chosen in truth. For grace does not mean boundarylessness, and love does not mean foolishness. Know this: their requests for help do not change the reality of what they have sown. The evidence remains. The consequences continue. The record is unshaken. Whether you speak or remain silent, whether you extend kindness or maintain separation, the harvest of their actions will come. They are reaping what they planted, and no gesture of yours can erase that harvest. Your task is not to undo my justice, but to walk forward into the purpose I preserved you for. So do not fear their letters. Do not tremble at their appeals. Do not second-guess your worth, because they now turn their eyes to you. You were vindicated before they ever asked. You were protected before they ever fell. You were chosen before they ever conspired. Stand in that truth. Stand in the freedom I have given you. Guard your boundaries, honor your heart, and keep your eyes fixed on me. For I am your defender still, and the story of their downfall is only the prologue to the story of your rising. My child, lean in and let me speak to you about what you are seeing now. For the silence of your enemies and the shifting of alliances is not the whole story. You are watching the birth of a deeper kind of isolation, and I want you to understand it so that your heart stays free from confusion. True isolation is not the absence of people around you. It is the absence of trust. It is not measured by how many stand in a room, but by how many will answer a call. This is what those who opposed you are now experiencing. They have full contact lists, yet no one will pick up. They are known by name, yet no one will speak it. They are surrounded by the faces of their former allies, but those faces look away. This is the isolation of judgment, the cold echo of choices returning to their source. It is not the solitude of peace you have found in me, but the emptiness created when deception collapses and trust evaporates. This is what happens when sacred things are used for selfish ends. When people weaponize faith to serve greed, they cross a line that even earthly courts cannot fully measure. There are crimes that governments can prosecute, but spiritual law is higher and deeper. It does not forget. It does not expire. It does not negotiate or bargain away its consequence. To take what is holy and twist it into a tool for harm is to write a debt against one's own soul. There is no statute of limitations on that debt. There is no plea bargain with the principles of heaven. There is no early release from karma, no shortcut out of divine justice. What they have done will follow them until it is faced and redeemed. Understand, beloved. This is why I placed you where I did. You were not sent into their midst as a victim, but as a mirror. Your presence was the test they did not know they were taking. Your light was the bait that drew out every moth with burning wings. Your authenticity was so pure that it exposed every counterfeit that came near. Without a word, you forced a choice. Everyone who stood in your presence had to decide: truth or falsehood, humility or pride, light or shadow. This is the role of the chosen throughout history: to stand as a living judgment, not by condemning, but simply by being. The darkness imagines it can overcome the light. But your life became the stage where it met its end. You are not only surviving their attacks, you are revealing hearts. This is why I speak of sevenfold restoration over you. It is not just about replacing what was taken in equal measure. It is not simply quantity returned. It is quality transformed. The money that returns will be cleaner, free from the taint of manipulation. The opportunities that come will be stronger, built on solid foundations rather than shifting sands. The relationships restored will be deeper, forged in truth instead of convenience. Everything they tried to steal has been passed through the fire and refined. You will not merely get back what you lost. You will receive the premium version of what was always destined for you. This is the hidden multiplication of heaven. What was meant for harm becomes the seed of an upgraded harvest. And the impact of your stand reaches far beyond you. Because you endured, children who might have been their next victims are now protected. Vulnerable souls who might have fallen into their manipulation have been warned. Patterns that might have continued for another generation have been interrupted. Toxic cycles have been exposed and broken. Your willingness to hold steady, to endure without retaliating, has created conditions for healing in places you cannot see. Others will walk freer because you stood your ground. Your patience became the shield for many. Your light became a warning beacon for the weak and an alarm bell for the deceived. Do you see, beloved, how I have woven your pain into a larger story? The isolation they feel now is the consequence of their choices, but it is also a protection for others. By standing as you did, you forced their patterns into the open, and once exposed, those patterns cannot continue unchecked. You became a kind of divine catalyst, grounding dangerous energy that would have harmed many more. This is what it means to be chosen. It is not a comfortable title. It is not a stage for applause. It is the quiet, often unseen work of being the place where darkness collides with light and breaks apart. But hear me clearly. Your role as bait was for a season, not for a lifetime. You were never meant to be their rehabilitation center. You were not called to carry their consequences, to absorb their debt, to manage their reform. You have paid the price of endurance, and that is enough. Now you step into a different place. Your assignment shifts from exposing to elevating. The separation I have created between you and them is for your protection. Some bridges, once burned, are not meant to be rebuilt. Some separations are permanent because the elevation I am giving you cannot be shared with those who tried to bury you. This new elevation is not about status. It is about authority. Spiritual authority that commands respect in realms seen and unseen. When you speak now, different frequencies activate. When you move, different energies respond. When you decide, different powers align. I am handing you keys to doors they do not even know exist. This is why their silence is so deep now. It is not only the silence of legal consequence, but the awe of watching their worst fear manifest. You becoming everything they said you could not be. Receiving everything they said you did not deserve. Stepping into a destiny they tried to block, but only accelerated. As you rise, keep your heart soft, but your boundaries firm. Celebrate quietly, for the victory is not just yours. It is a witness to many. Your triumph is not a spectacle. It is a revelation. Not of retaliation, but of restoration. Not of pride, but of purpose. The stage they built for your destruction has become the platform for your elevation. The spotlight they aim to expose your supposed flaws now illuminates your proven strength. The audience they gathered to watch your downfall now watches your ascent. And the silence you hear is the sound of heaven's applause drowning out hell's accusations. This is the mystery of your calling, that by simply being who I made you to be, you have become a test of the heart for everyone around you. Some recoiled from the light and revealed their shadows. Some drew near and were strengthened. Some fled, some repented, but all were forced to see. This is why the chosen often walk lonely roads, not because they are unloved, but because their presence divides truth from falsehood. And yet, from that lonely road flows a river of protection, a shield for the weak, a breaking of patterns, a resetting of futures. You have walked that road, and now its fruit begins to appear. So understand this season. The isolation of your enemies is their judgment, but the separation between you and them is your promotion. The debts they wrote against their own souls will follow them until they face them. The restoration I am bringing to you will follow you into eternity. You were placed as a mirror, a catalyst, a test. You have passed through fire without losing your light. And now the harvest begins. Walk forward without fear. Walk forward without guilt. Walk forward knowing you are not only vindicated, but appointed. Not only protected, but empowered. The law of heaven has acted on your behalf, and its record is unbreakable. My beloved child, the season you are entering now carries a different weight than the one you have just walked through. The silence of your enemies has not only been your vindication, it has also been the signal that a new chapter has begun. In the days ahead, the institutions of this world may reach out to you. Letters may arrive. Officers may knock. Investigators may call. Do not let your heart be troubled when this happens. You have done no wrong. You are not on trial. Your integrity has made you a witness, not a defendant. The testimony of your steadfastness has become a cornerstone of truth. And now it will speak in places where lies once reigned. When they come, they will not come to accuse, but to ask. They will seek your account to complete the puzzle, to close the circle, to make the record whole. Your calm words, rooted in truth, will carry weight that cannot be shaken. You have nothing to hide, and so your voice will be a light in their proceedings. Every fact you share will stand in contrast to the shifting stories of those who plotted against you. Your silence during their accusations has become your power now, for it has kept your word pure. You will not have to embellish or defend. You will simply tell the truth, and the truth will do the work. But hear me, child. As the wind shifts and your name is cleared, there will be many who try to drift back toward you. Those who whispered behind your back will come smiling. Those who doubted you will speak as though they always believed. They will call you friend. They will offer congratulations. They will speak the language of loyalty as if it had always been theirs. Do not be deceived. This is the moment to discern. Only those who stood with you when it cost them something are worthy of standing close to you now. Only those who defended you when the evidence seemed against you are worthy of sharing your table in vindication. You are not called to bitterness, but you are called to wisdom. Let me give you eyes to see the difference between the genuine and the false. The fair weather friend is easy to spot. They need your victory to validate their support. Real allies do not wait for proof to stand for truth. Guard your heart, for access to your life is a holy thing. The boundaries you set now will protect the destiny I am unfolding. Not every hand that applauds you deserves to hold you. Not every voice that praises you deserves your ear. In this season of reversal, you must walk in discernment as much as in joy. Because what is unfolding is more than a legal verdict. It is a multidimensional victory. The decision rendered in earthly courts has carved your name into a new place in the Spirit. The judgment that favored you is a signpost of a larger elevation. It is not merely compensation for what was lost. It is a promotion into what was always yours. This is why you feel the atmosphere shifting around you. This is why doors you could not open before are opening of their own accord. This is why opportunities are appearing that you did not pursue. The vindication you are experiencing is not limited to one realm. It is rippling outward: legal, financial, social, spiritual. Each dimension reflecting the others. Legally, your name is cleared. The accusations are documented as false. The narrative has been rewritten not by your hand, but by the evidence itself. The record that once threatened to stain you now stands as your testimony. Financially, what was withheld is being released. The flow that was blocked is being restored. Contracts, opportunities, and resources are being redirected to you because I have decreed it. Socially, the respect that was eroded is being rebuilt. Communities that once questioned you are now speaking your name with honor. And spiritually, the authority you carried quietly is being acknowledged openly. The unseen weight of your patience, your endurance, your refusal to fight in the flesh has become a crown of power in the Spirit. I tell you the truth. This is not mere restitution. This is acceleration. You are not just receiving back what was stolen. You are receiving the upgraded version, the multiplied return, the sevenfold restoration. Your suffering has refined you. Your waiting has deepened you. Your tears have watered the ground of your next season. And now you are stepping into the harvest. This is why I cautioned you to stay humble. For what is being given is greater than what was lost. It is not a trophy for survival. It is an anointing for assignment. And know this as well. Everything you endured has been recorded in my book. Not one tear escaped my notice. Not one prayer went unheard. Not one moment of patience went unmeasured. Heaven keeps meticulous records. While they built a case of lies, I built a case of truth. While they wrote false reports, I wrote your vindication in the archives of eternity. And now, as their accounts are being settled in the courts of men, my accounts are being settled in the courts of heaven. The interest on your suffering is being paid out in favor. The compensation for your endurance is being released in authority. And the harvest of your faithfulness is breaking through the soil of your life. This is why you must carry yourself differently in this season. You are not just the one who survived. You are the one who has been entrusted. You are not simply cleared. You are commissioned. You are stepping into a place where your voice matters, where your decisions shape the environment, where your presence carries weight unseen and yet undeniable. This authority is not for display. It is for purpose. I am entrusting you with influence that cannot be fabricated or stolen. It comes from endurance. It comes from truth. It comes from me. So when officials come asking for your account, speak with clarity and calm. When former doubters come seeking closeness, discern with wisdom and grace. When new opportunities appear, step through the doors I open, but remain anchored in humility. Remember how you were formed in the fire. Remember what you learned in the silence. Let your elevation be as quiet in its dignity as your endurance was in its patience. Your story now is not only a personal victory, but a public witness. People are watching how you rise. They are watching how you handle restoration. They are watching how you treat those who betrayed you. They are watching how you steward the authority I am giving you. This is part of your assignment, to show what vindication looks like without vengeance, what restoration looks like without arrogance, what elevation looks like without exploitation. Let them see me in your posture. Let them feel me in your words. Let them know by your conduct that I am the one who lifts up, and that those who trust me will never be put to shame. This is the time to lift your eyes from the ruins of the past and fix them on the horizon of destiny. The same hand that defended you is now guiding you. The same voice that silenced your accusers is now calling you higher. The same power that exposed the lies is now establishing your truth. Walk forward, for I am with you. Carry your head high, for you are not just cleared, you are chosen. Beloved, everything they tried to take from you has been transformed in my hands. The smear they designed became the evidence of your character. The trap they set became the stage of your unveiling. The delay they caused became the preparation of your soul. And the verdict in your favor is the earthly sign of a heavenly reality. You are mine, and I have vindicated you. Take a deep breath and step into this moment with reverence. You are standing in a chapter that only I could write. You are living the fulfillment of promises whispered in the dark. You are holding the receipts of heaven's meticulous care. And as you move forward, know that the books have been balanced. Justice has been served. Favor has been released. Authority has been entrusted. This is your time, not just to receive, but to become the living testimony of my faithfulness, the walking proof that truth outlasts lies, the quiet but undeniable sign that those who wait on me will rise with wings like eagles. This is what your multidimensional victory means. It is not the end of your story, but the beginning of your purpose. The courts of men have spoken, but the courts of heaven had already decreed it. The world sees a verdict, but I see an appointment. The people see a reversal, but I see a release. Everything has been prepared for you to step into your next season without hindrance, without shame, without fear. And as you do, remember, every tear collected, every prayer recorded, every act of patience measured, none of it was wasted. It has all been counted, and now it is all being returned. Walk in this truth, beloved. Guard your heart, cherish your boundaries, discern your relationships, steward your influence, and never forget that I, the Lord your God, have done this for you, not only to clear your name, but to crown your life, not only to silence your enemies, but to sing your destiny into being. My beloved child, you have carried a weight that was never yours to bear. You endured attacks you did not invite, accusations you did not earn, and storms you did not cause. You stood steady as the winds howled and the walls fell. Now the temptation will come for you to turn back and become a refuge for those who once tried to destroy you. Hear me clearly. You are not a rehabilitation center for the very ones who wounded you. You do not owe them the labor of their healing. You do not have to carry them through the consequences of their own choices. You are free from the expectation of fixing what they broke. This is not bitterness. It is wisdom. This is not revenge. It is alignment with my will. Your boundaries are sacred. I sanctified them. I do not ask you to open the door that I have shut. I do not ask you to rebuild bridges that I have burned for your protection. It is not your assignment to be their counselor, their redeemer, their second chance. Your assignment now is to rise into the purpose their persecution tried to prevent. You have already paid the price for their education. You will not pay again by carrying them out of the pit they dug for themselves. Release the false sense of obligation. Let them find their own path to redemption. Let them do their own shadow work. Let them face their own demons without using you as their therapist. I am calling you into a new space where your energy must be preserved for your destiny, not drained by their dysfunction. If you pour what I have given you back into the same patterns that tried to break you, you will delay the harvest that is already ready. The boundaries you set now are not walls of unforgiveness, but gates of stewardship. They guard the oil I have poured over your head. They protect the assignment I have entrusted to you. They make sure that what I have birthed in you will not be aborted by distraction or misplaced compassion. Mercy does not mean self-sabotage. Grace does not mean returning to bondage. Some separations are permanent. Accept that. Some bridges are not meant to be rebuilt. Accept that. The separation between you and those who persecuted you is not a pause. It is a deliverance. It is the closing of a chapter, the sealing of a door, the finishing of an old contract. The space you feel between you and them is my hand holding you apart. Do not mistake it for a test of your kindness. It is an act of your Father's protection. Your compassion must now be directed toward the future I am unfolding, not the past I have rescued you from. I am transferring real authority into your hands, and real authority cannot be shared with those who do not honor it. They wanted influence. I am giving you authentic influence. They performed power. I am giving you actual power. They mimicked authority. I am granting you true authority. This is the great exchange of this season. While they were busy manufacturing an image, I was busy building your substance. While they were crafting false thrones, I was preparing a seat for you that cannot be toppled. Understand, child, that this authority is not theatrical. It does not need to be advertised or performed. It does not shout to prove itself. It simply is. It will be felt when you enter a room, even before you speak. It will be heard in your voice, even when you whisper. It will be known in your decisions, even when you choose silence. Your words will now activate frequencies you do not yet comprehend. Your steps will awaken energies that have been waiting for your arrival. Doors will open because your presence carries keys. Keys to rooms they never knew existed. Keys to realms they could not access. Keys to dimensions of favor, strategy, and insight hidden from the unfaithful. This is why I have kept you in the shadows, until now. Authority forged in suffering is different from authority stolen by performance. It carries weight that cannot be faked, and that weight calls forth forces that only answer to truth. When you speak now, heaven will echo. When you move, circumstances will align. When you decide, chains will break, not because you strain, but because you have become a vessel of my decree. This is what it means to be entrusted with real power. Do not let the old world of false allies and counterfeit authority touch what I am placing in your hands. Do not let pity or guilt cause you to share keys with those who would misuse them. The elevation I am giving you is not a stage for them to re-enter your life. It is a sacred commission for you to walk out. Guard it, protect it, steward it. For every key I give you, there is a corresponding door, and every door leads to a space of impact. You cannot open them if your hands are still busy pulling others out of pits they chose. You will notice that as you rise, some will still try to attach themselves to you, hoping to ride your ascension to redeem their own reputation. Their language will sound humble. Their posture will look contrite. But you must discern the difference between genuine repentance and strategic positioning. True repentance bears fruit over time. Strategic positioning flatters in the moment. Only invite into your new space those who carry truth in their bones, not performance in their mouths. The time of proving is over for you. You do not have to defend, justify, or explain. You do not have to convince anyone of your calling. The evidence of my hand upon your life will speak louder than any explanation you could offer. Your victories will testify. Your peace will preach. Your authority will demonstrate. And the ones who tried to bury you will watch from a distance as you rise beyond their reach. Remember, beloved, this elevation is not about revenge. It is about fulfillment. It is not about proving them wrong. It is about proving me faithful. It is not about going back to show them. It is about going forward to become everything I spoke over you. Let that be your focus now. Let that be your joy. Let that be your strength. This is why I am telling you, release them. Release the idea that you must be their safe place. Release the thought that you must offer them your platform. Release the desire to be seen as merciful at your own expense. Mercy without boundaries becomes enabling, and enabling keeps them from facing the mirror they must face to change. By stepping back, you are not abandoning them. You are allowing my work in them to begin. Walk now in the newness of your commission. You are not just a survivor, you are a steward. You are not just vindicated, you are appointed. You are stepping into a realm where your voice activates change, where your presence shifts atmospheres, where your decisions open paths for many. Carry this with reverence. Carry this with humility, but also carry it with confidence, knowing that I have prepared you for it. And as you move, know that the distance I have created between you and them is not emptiness. It is space for expansion. It is room for you to stretch into the fullness of who you are becoming. It is the clearing of a runway for your takeoff. Do not look back at the ground you left. Look ahead to the sky I have opened. For every bridge burned behind you, there is a gate opening before you. For every relationship released, there is a network of destiny waiting. For every door shut, there are keys in your hand to doors they could never open. Beloved, this is the truth you must hold. You are not their rehabilitation center. You are my instrument. You are not bound to fix their story. You are called to live yours. And as you walk forward into this new season, your boundaries will guard your oil, your authority will command respect, and your keys will open what was hidden. This is the inheritance of the chosen. Freedom from false obligation, power rooted in truth, and access to realms unseen. So, my beloved child, did you understand clearly? The silence that surrounds you is not emptiness, it is music. It is the triumphant song of vindication, the anthem of justice fulfilled. Do you hear it? The voices that once rose in slander are hushed, not only because the law commands their restraint, but because they are forced to watch the nightmare they most feared unfold before their very eyes. You becoming everything they said you could not be. Their silence has become your standing ovation, a chorus of absence that testifies to your elevation. Each step you take into blessing is another note in this song. Each accomplishment is a nail driven into the coffin of their credibility. They once claimed you were unworthy, yet your victories now prove them false. They once declared you finished, yet your rising declares them blind. Every blessing that lands in your hands is undeniable evidence of their error. It is as though heaven itself is holding up receipts, reminding them and all who watched that my judgment is final and my word is true. This silence weighs heavier on them than words ever could. For words can be debated, but silence cannot be ignored. Their mouths, once so full of venom, are now forced closed by the weight of truth. Their eyes, once so bold in scorn, now lower under the brilliance of your light. Their hearts, once so arrogant in plotting, now tremble under the realization that they misjudged you and misjudged me. What they thought would be your ruin has become the stage of their exposure, and they cannot utter a sound to deny it. Do not mistake this silence as weakness. It is the strongest testimony of all. It is the sound of heaven's applause drowning out hell's accusations. It is the rhythm of divine justice, steady and unstoppable. And as you walk forward, each success you carry will add to that rhythm. Every new opportunity will reverberate like a drum beat. Every door that opens will ring like a bell of victory, until the silence itself becomes a song, declaring that you were chosen, you were protected, and you were always destined to rise. Beloved, know this: what I have given you cannot be taken back. The blessings poured into your life are sealed with my authority. The victories I have delivered into your hands cannot be stolen or reversed. The doors I have opened for you will not be shut by another hand. The authority I have placed upon you is untouchable by those who schemed against you. What is yours by decree, not by chance. What I have entrusted to you is guarded by my hand, not man's approval. So walk boldly in this triumph. Do not let pride overtake you, but let gratitude be your crown. Do not shrink in false humility, but let confidence in me be your robe. The silence of your enemies is not the end. It is the backdrop for the beginning of your new chapter. And as they watch, unable to speak, you will continue to rise. Higher, stronger, further than they ever imagined. For their silence is your symphony. Their defeat is your vindication, and your victory is my glory revealed. My beloved child, as you stand here now, know that everything I promised has come to pass. The verdict has been rendered. The chain of truth is unbroken and shining before all who doubted. The community that once gathered to plot against you now stands at a distance, forced to watch from the space they themselves created. They touched what they should never have touched, and now they bear the consequence of that choice. The law has spoken, and the universe has echoed it. You stand exactly where I destined you to stand, firm, elevated, untouchable, positioned by my hand, not by their permission. This is the principle of the ages. Any unity built on deception will crumble, but what is built on truth will remain standing. They tried to build an alliance of lies to bury you, but that alliance dissolved into dust. You, who stood alone on the solid ground of integrity, remain unmoved. Their false consensus was a castle of sand. Your patience was a rock. When the tide rose, their foundation vanished, and yours became visible to all. The collapse of their plot sought is the vindication of my ways. No one will help them bully you again. Not because they suddenly care for you, but because they legally cannot. The judgment is final. The doors they once used to whisper and scheme are sealed shut. The networks they once used to coordinate their attacks have scattered. They cannot even speak of you without counsel present. This is not a pause, it is a conclusion. You are free. Free from their manipulation, free from their false narratives, free from their reach. You are released to become everything they tried to prevent. Hear me. Every silent mouth that once slandered you is now a closed door to your past. Each legal restriction placed on them is a spiritual release granted to you. As their movements are limited, your territory expands. As their voices are silenced, your message grows louder. The community that turned its back on them has, without realizing it, turned its face toward your light. You did not have to convince them. The truth did all the convincing while you kept rising. And so your triumph is not revenge, but revelation. It is not retaliation, but restoration. It is not pride, but purpose. The stage they built for your destruction has become your launch platform. The spotlight they aimed to expose your flaws now illuminates your proven strength. The audience they gathered to witness your fall now witnesses your coronation. This is the great reversal of symbols. What was meant to humiliate has become the setting of your honor. What was meant to break you has become the proof of your endurance. Understand this, child. This is the meaning of being chosen, protected, appointed, untouchable. They reached for what belonged to me, and now everyone sees the cost of that mistake. You are my investment, my property, my beloved. They tried to tamper with what is holy, and now the knowledge of their error is public. The recognition of who you truly are has been forced from their lips, and that recognition is the sweetest victory of all. This is the fragrance of your triumph, not the bitterness of revenge, but the aroma of purpose fulfilled. The silence that surrounds you now is pregnant with possibility. It is not the hush of fear, but the quiet before the unveiling of your next chapter. Walk forward into it, with your head high and your heart steady. You have been vindicated, you have been released, and you have been crowned. Everything they meant for harm has become the evidence of your calling. Everything they built to bury you has become the ground from which you rise. And now, with the verdict sealed and the judgment final, you are free to become everything I have always spoken over you. This is your moment of unveiling. This is your season of ascent. This is the sound of heaven's applause rising above the silence of men. Step into it, beloved, for this is what it means to be chosen. My beloved child, I see you sitting here at the end of this word, and I honor the patience of your heart. You have stayed, you have listened, you have opened yourself fully, and that is the mark of a soul ready for the next word I will speak. Every moment you've spent receiving this message is a seed planted in the unseen, and I will water it with my own hand. Your endurance to the end is not unnoticed. It is the sign that you are ready for deeper revelation, greater strength, and new assignments that only I can give. Now I invite you to step into the circle of community I have prepared for you. Speak your testimony. Share what has been stirred within you. If you need prayer, ask for it. If this word has met you where you are, declare it by writing, "I receive this word," and let the family of faith stand with you. Share this message with those who are crying out in silence. Family who are losing their voice in crisis. Friends who are fighting battles that were never theirs to fight, so that they too may know they are seen and not alone. Subscribe and keep the bell turned on, because heaven is not done speaking. My voice will continue to guide you, comfort you, and prepare you for what is ahead. Until we meet again in the next word from heaven, remain quiet in your spirit and steadfast in your faith. Watch me act. Hold your ground. Stay faithful. Let your silence become trust, and your waiting become worship. I am moving even when you cannot see. I am faithful even when all else shifts, and I will reveal my hand in your life again.